Hello, hello, hello. It's been a minute, but I'm back. I'm so chilly. It's cold, and I haven't figured out how to turn on my heater yet. Also, haven't tried. Also, I'm exhausted, super tired, still jet lagged. So to catch y'all up, had a baby. It's great. Had to leave him. Not great. Missed a week of school. Then we had a reading week, and now I'm back here. So chilling. So this is week 7, I believe. Wait, did I? Yeah, week 7 because I missed week 6. Week 6 of classes is what we're technically on, but the first week 7 of being in LAMDA. So warm up, John Wood. I got to show everybody pictures of Theo, and it was great. And then we were going to have our regular voice class with Jess, but Jess wasn't feeling well, so we had our voice to text or text to voice class with George. And I'm just gonna kind of read things off today. We had our 3 classes. Afterwards, we had scene study, and lastly, we had movement with Nicoletta. Um, I was gonna do this in the morning, but I'm jet lagged and I'm trying to figure it out. And I did not sleep well last night, so it's today Tuesday, but it's Tuesday night. Um, what are we still good? Okay, it looked like it froze for a second. Okay, so. In Georgia class, we're working on the prologues to all of the shows that have prologues. Um, and delivering a prologue is very different than delivering a sonnet, right? With sonnet, um, it's like a duologue, right? You're speaking to one individual person, to your beloved. Um, with a prologue, you're addressing to the entire audience. And George said he's going to teach us to do it like we're performing in the Globe. And the Globe Theater is very interesting because you have this space and then it's almost in the round. You don't have anyone directly behind you, but you got people all here. So it's basically in the round if you're in the round. I think it's technically considered a thrust. But you need to, at the Globe, project your voice forward and behind you. Because if you're speaking over here, there will be people back there. They just will never be like directly behind you if you're looking just straight forward. But there's frequently going to be people behind you. So when warming up, you want to release all the tension from your back because your back holds a bunch of tension. Um, so something that George did is George had a student come and touch his back while he spoke, and she really felt the resonance and the vibration of his back. Um, we talked about where the power position is in the globe, and that's just like directly in front of when you first, excuse me, yeah, you first kind of enter the from the house, and it's at the upstage of this kind of where the doors are. So it's not at the downstage lip of the stage because then people are getting your back. So it's a little different than a traditional proscenium. Mm-mm-mm. Then we had another student get up and they walked the circle of the space and kind of felt out the power position. They gave the the first sentence of Henry VIII prologue to one person from center stage, and then we talked about how so many people were like kind of cut off from that, and it wasn't inclusive to the audience, and it didn't read very well. Then Nick came up to the center and he tried to speak each idea kind of to each comma, each internal punctuation, and then to a new person. So he's like that, da 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 da, da da da, da da da, and it felt very stilted and not very authentic. It didn't work, right? Um, then a key idea is that the power position is where you can look at all the people without moving your feet. So you can like turn around and see them here, turn and see them there. But if you got to move your feet, like you're not in the power position. And it shouldn't be like a drastic, like, I see everybody, you know. You have to be standing and be comfortable and be able to go, yeah, I can check in with everybody. Um, when Nick went, we were really focused on his movement because he's like da 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 la da da da, right? And we weren't focused on the context of his speech. Okay, so technique. What are we going to focus on? So we always kind of want to start with the left hip and then divide the audience into four sections or quadrants, like this quadrant, that quadrant, this one, and that one. And then we can address all four of these quadrants individually and kind of break it up. So it's not just dump, bump, 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 or even bump, 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 right? Because then this person on the far side knows, oh, well, they're not going to address me. It's not going to come to me recently. So you want to kind of go bump, 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 right? And kind of address all of them individually. Of course, not that quickly, but that's the idea. And I'm trying to get to bed. Ah. Is it rude to yawn with your mouth open? I figure it is in public, but like no one's around. I'm in an empty room. If I yawn right now, is that rude? Uh, just yawning. I'm trying to cover my mouth. I don't know. Did I gleek? I felt like I might have gleeked. That seems rude if I'm spitting on you. Anyway, so your vocal energy should be as such that you feel your voice gently bounce off the walls of the room, right? So Call It House is a very live space. That means that it's echoey and pingy. So the walls and the floor and the ceiling are resonant and they'll give back the sound because it's wood floors and wooden walls and such. Um, the drapes in the windows and fabric and people's bodies dampen sound. They're not very lively. So we want to be able to learn how to adapt our voice to the space we're in. We don't want to push, but we want to be able to adapt our voice, right? We don't want to just be like, okay, this is a really dampening space. I got to talk really loud. I got to push, right? But you just want to open up your voice. And then that brings resonance and volume. It's not a push, it's a open kind of idea. Yes. I lost my spot. Yeah, so you really want to keep your voice open. Americans, and American men specifically, are very naturally loud. I learned this today, Tuesday, that it might be because there's a lot of space in America, right? We have these big places, and so that might have something to do with it. We're loud because we have all the space to be loud. I don't know if that's a thing, but that was an interesting idea. And then, but we're not very full of pitch, right? We don't go up in a register and down in a register. We just yell at the same pitch, ba 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 ba, right? But then with more other people, they would use all of the different parts of their voice, and why wouldn't you? You know? So we're looking to use our whole voice as an instrument. We all went around saying, next we did an activity where we all went around and said, ah, George, I want to hear my voice bounce and ping lightly off the walls. And we did little variations depending on how people remembered it, but it's fun. And then we got little individual, um, not critiques per se, but improvements, feedback, right? George identified the issues and helped us loosen or open or vary our pitch or find the upper range and lower range and the depth of our voice. And he kind of touched on that. Then, fun fact, when you go off support, that's when your voice cracks. So your voice won't crack if it's supported, which is good to know. Uh, I felt like I really need to work on observing better. I mean, I listen and I watch and I write things down and I do that, but I don't always know if I analyze well. Maybe that's a better word. Um, because a lot of times, like, okay, what did you experience? What did you see? What? And I'm like, I, I don't know. I was just there, kind of in the moment. So I want to improve that. And I think that's something good that everyone can improve on is just being better at analyzing and identifying patterns and positive qualities and things to improve on and all that. Tension is the enemy of my resonators and articulators. Because once I'm tense, it ruins things. Um, a question you should ask yourself as you're working on this is like, what if your character doesn't pitch and intonate like you do? Right? How can you be able to use your voice as your instrument to have those different options? Right? I think of Austin Butler, who played Elvis, right? Elvis is kind of has a lower voice. And he's like, yeah, thank you very much. And it's interesting how that's changed his regular speaking voice because he worked on his voice. Um, we should do scales with our falsettos and eliminate the break between our chest voice and our head voice. We should do scales and like work through our range every day. He was saying something crazy. I didn't write it down exactly, but that you should add a note to the top and bottom of your scale like every week. That seems crazy. But maybe who's to say? Who's to say? The more you work on the bottom, the freer your top gets, and vice versa. That's such an interesting idea to me because I think then shouldn't there be basses who have like incredible high tenor voices, but it feels like people's voices are kind of like set. It's like this is this kind of person's voice and that's that kind of person's voice, but maybe not. Um, okay, then we did an exercise to work the four quadrants, and we need to keep the audience guessing to whom we will address next. So the first way we did this is we had a student stand in the middle and then say names of different people, different quadrants, never doing two quadrants in a row. So, like, if this is quadrant 1, 2, 3, 4, you would go Jack, or just say like 1, 3, 2, 4, 2, 3, 1, kind of a thing. Um, and you don't want to just go bum, 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 right? Just like clockwise or anti-clockwise, counterclockwise. You just want to keep it mixing up and not just go 1, 3, 2, 4, 1, 3, 2, 4. Whenever you establish a pattern, you struggle. And so the goal in this activity was to get everybody's name through. And then someone else went, really finding those individuals like draws us in, and it's and the student who went this time was like super solid and was really good at it. Um, then we had another student get up and presented Henry V's prologue and named four quadrants and then moved focus on each punctuation. So just trying to go boom, 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 identifying those people. And let me restate that. That didn't make sense. When I say he named four quadrants, he said, my four quadrants are this person to that person. So this, he, she, them, whomever. This person, that person, 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 this person, right? So it's 4, 4, 4, 3, I believe. Um, and then he presented the prologue and moved focus on each punctuation, trying to go to different ones like 1, 4, 2, 4, 3, 1, 3, 2, 4, kind of like that. One. But like while actually delivering the speech, but that's how he would address it. Someone's alarm is going off. Keep small punctuation together as a singular thought. Like, for example, sad, high, and working in the prologue to Henry VIII. It doesn't serve you to go sad. What is it? Sad, high. Sad, high, and working. Right? Just sad, high, and working. This, that, and this. Right? And that way you can go boom, 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 boom. Right? So on and so forth. Okay, then another students stood up and moved with on the images, not the punctuation. And it's difficult. It's interesting when you're trying to spin all these plates because I think I do a fairly good job at just addressing the audience, but I don't know. When you make it such a technical thing, it's interesting to see how that affects you. Something this last student did was to kind of scan over who they were going to pick, and and George says, "Don't leave orphans, right? Don't be like, not you, not you. I'll pick you." And then I'll say the next one to you. And you want to be able to keep the fluidity of it. You don't want to like pause, address your next group, but you want to be able to say, this is what I'm going to say, and this is what I'm going to say to you. Don't forget that this is what I'll say to you, right? Kind of like that. So it's not like, this is what I'm going to say to you, and this is what I'm going to say to you. And this, right, with those stops, you kind of lose it. Okay. Um, this takes a lot of practice to do. So it's a skill, it's a technique. It takes effort. But once you learn it, it will be beneficial. Um, and at the Globe, you ignore an audience member at your own expense, right? If you lose them, since it's such an open air experience, they'll kill the energy or lose it if it's not good, right? So our homework is to know every plot of all the prologues, and we won't get back to his class until Wednesday next week. And then pick one of the five prologues to memorize, excluding Macbeth and RNJ. Macbeth's too short and it's weird, and RNJ is too popular, too overdone. I don't know. Some fun little facts. A shilling is 11 pence. Did not know that. And then we went over the history and parsing of Henry VIII. George doesn't like the word project, he likes the word release. And then we will perform one of these at the end of term as a little performance of sorts, which is what I was asking and talking about earlier. I was like, I wish there was something that we like presented at the at all of these. And it is, we will present our prologues. Then we had lunch. Um, and I didn't have any groceries because I got back and I've been so tired. So I bought from the cafe. It was lovely. Little cafe at LAMDA is so great because it's a nonprofit and it's an in-house thing, so it's all through the school, and they just basically sell things at market price. So you can get a bowl of pasta for £1.50 and like a whole sandwich for like £2 or something. I don't know. I got a bunch of stuff for like £8. I was like, that's a solid lunch. It was good. And then we had scene study with our new scene study teacher because Lawrence is off to bigger and better and different things. I actually have no idea what he's doing. But we have Karen now. I don't have her last name. But she took roll. These are 2 hour classes, by the way. Um, and Karen is someone who really thinks, well, it really focuses on the doing. And so I I don't have a ton of notes because I had to put my notebook down, but I did write some things down. So this is what I have. So she took roll, and then we must practice, 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 do. It's not about writing things down. She talked about how it doesn't matter how many lists you know, like if it's Uta Hagen or Stanislavski or Stella Adler or um, Meisner or whatever, whoever, right? If you can't do it, doesn't matter how well you can analyze it and write it down. Um, you want to perfect during the process of doing. Reflect, sorry, you want to reflect during the process. So that's that's not just um, stopping and reflecting and writing things down, but it's like as you're doing, thinking about it and observing and analyzing. And there are things that you just need to know. Here are 4 things that Karen said that every actor needs to know. Every actor needs to know their relationship with the audience. They need to know how to use space. They need to know how time affects everything. And they need to know their relationships with characters and the text. If an actor can't do one of those 4 things, they can't work. They can't do it. Right? Um, right? And like I was saying before, it doesn't matter if you do all the work if the audience doesn't find you believable. At the end of the day, that's what matters. And so how you get there is what's important. An actor's job is to lie so well the audience believes it's true. I disagree with that a little bit because I don't like lying and I don't like the idea of dishonesty. I think we make it true, and that's what makes it believable and convincing. And that would make the lie or the falsehood of these characters, these stories, is we believe it. We So I guess you could say it's a lie. I don't like that terminology because what we're doing is we're creating truth and we're displaying truth. And that's why it's believable because it's true. So we played a game called Bim Bam Name. Bim Bam, I don't know. So the idea is we were all in a circle. Karen was in the center, and then she would point to one person. They would have to go Bim. The next person would have to say Bam, and then the third person would have to say their name. And if you hesitated or did anything like that, then you were out. So, um, so bim bam name, bim bam name, bim bam name, bim bam name, and you could go bim bam name or and the whole thing. Um, I did not win because I don't win at games. Then we played another game which was shield fruit and fruit bomb. So you picked one student in the classroom who was your shield and another one who was a fruit bomb. And so if you had to keep your shield between you and your fruit bomb or you would get splattered by fruit. And so that was fun, just kind of moving as an ensemble, moving with different space. And then we did a game. Sorry, one sec. And then we did a game, Where's the King? So the idea, I didn't write this one down, but Karen would say something, Where's the king? And we would say, I don't know. And if she said, I don't know, we would say, Where's the king? I don't know. And we would match her energy and kind of her take on it. It's like, Where's the king? I don't know. Where's the king? I don't know. Or I don't know. Where's the king? I don't know. Where's the king? Right? Kind of like that. And then there's a couple other phrases, and we used some lines and went back and forth and through those. And then we all sat in a circle and we pantomimed taking some truth serum. And then we all said how much of we understood from the last Shakespeare show we saw. And not just like understood the story, but the language specifically. We understood what was being told. My first thought was like, I don't know, like 70%, 60%, because I was thinking of Titus Andronicus, and I was like, I got what was going on, but then if I was focused specifically on like the language itself, then I was like, I don't know. I said I said 40%, I think. Um, but it was yeah, that was what it was. Um, and what we said was the reason why, what Karen believes is that many actors don't know what they're saying. And that's like something I've always heard too. And it's like I feel like if I go see a show at the like RSC production that they know what they're saying. But some of them don't know all of the words. They know the idea of it. They know what they're saying in general. But you need to understand each word, right? Shakespeare's a play. It's not a book. It's to be watched and understood, not read and studied. Even though there's benefit in doing that and other people do, it wasn't designed that way. The nature of the work is a discovery of the text, right? And also know that like Shakespeare is a truth, not the truth. Which is so interesting because Karen feels so opposite of Lawrence in a way. Lawrence had a very specific way to do things, and Karen seems much more like, here's what works for me, but find out what works for you. And like, there's no right way, which is interesting. But also, it feels like we're going to be approaching the text very differently. There is no threshold for approaching Shakespeare. Shakespeare's for everyone. It was written for common people. It's not a posh thing, or it's not a highly educated or sophisticated thing. It's accessible for all. So don't think that there's anything wrong with you and you can't approach Shakespeare because of it. Just had to make sure that this was going for a second. That'd be unfortunate if it weren't. Um, the experts are a heartbeat ahead of us. This is an interesting thought. So Karen doesn't have some great grasp and understanding of Shakespeare, and she thinks that anyone who says that they just totally get it are full of themselves, and there's no one interpretation and everything. They just have more experience with it, so they're a heartbeat ahead of us. She's like, "Dum," right? But we're all figuring things out together. And she said like the last show she saw, she didn't understand everything. She's like, yeah, I understood like 60% or something, you know, 40. She might have said less. I don't remember. Um, we must convince the audience that what we're doing is truth at all costs. We're not phoning things in. We're not making things up. We're convincing the audience that it's truthful. And then we created still images of relationships in Hamlet. I was with what do we start with? I was King Hamlet first. Um, and we made a little tableau, and someone was my wife, I can't remember, Gertrude, Dirty Gertie, as she's well known in LAMDA, apparently. Um, then Claudio, I believe, is my brother's name if I were King Hamlet, and then Prince Hamlet. We kind of created this picture and tried to create images that showed that. And then that built into getting into small groups and doing the same thing. Um, and we are creating a wedding scene where people were one person was upset. We were trying to figure out why. And so one group, they were throwing a bouquet and somebody was trying to catch it, but somebody had like caught in and like stolen the bouquet that the other person was supposed to catch. And then another one was people were getting married and someone was upset about it. I don't remember why. Maybe because it was a gay marriage or something. I don't remember. But then there was ours, and I was in love with one of the people getting married, and I was like, I was mad, and you betrayed me. But apparently my face didn't show very well what I was intending. Um, but it was fun. And then we were in our same groups, and we created we tried to see who can see a ghost, right? So we created a tableau, and then we added some lines to it from Hamlet. And then we really focused on the authenticity of it. It's like, how can we make that more real? And so Karen worked with us, like, I don't believe that. Try this, or what about that? And how can you make it genuine? And it was interesting is the first group was doing like Mystery Incorporated, like Scooby Doo and stuff. Um, and she's like, that's not truthful. And so we are going for truthfulness above all else. Oh. So they wrote down that we need a moment of stillness to have that audience recognize. So we need to reckon it's pacing and it's the rhythm of it, right? We see something. And she said there's kind of like time travel that occurs between the audience and the actors because there's this delay. And so it's like, right, there needs to be those moments of recognition and then speech. It needs to be clear. Stillness is your friend. Then we got a scrap of text for Hamlet, and we were trying to create it. It's just on the um, parapet. I don't know what it's called. The wall of the castle. The guards were like, "Hey, yo, what's going on?" kind of a thing. And then um, as an actor, all you have is your creative intelligence. So that's what you need to use. You got to create and understand and make it believable. And then the less you do, the more effective it is. Keep it simple, right? Sometimes we overcomplicate things and we lose it in the complexity. Then, while we were trying to act these out, some people hadn't read the play, and so she lectured us on doing the work, and she was like, "It was just 4 pages, and you need to come in and do the homework." It turns out it was a little bit of a misunderstanding because somebody's email didn't work, and then somebody else misunderstood what she meant by if they had done the work because he read the pages of the script, but he hadn't like done all this extra stuff that he thought he might have should have needed to because of other things. Anyway, so she was really cool about it. She was like, "Oh, I'm sorry, like that I yelled at you guys. It seems like that wasn't necessary. That wasn't the point." And yeah, and that was the end of the class. And so now we're gonna get in our groups and work on this little scrap of text, um, and figure it out and work from it. I think my one line is, "Who goes there?" or like, "Who's there?" or something like that. Yeah, and then we had movement with once again, I put my notebook away. So I have paraphrasing, but we had a 30-minute break between class, but it was with Nicoleta. So of course we moved around a bit, and had some sound involved, and then we stepped into space. Um, Then we had a little like field trip of sorts. We just like went into a different part of the building, and it's kind of a study area above the Sainsbury lobby to explore different textures and kind of embody them. I picked two textures. One texture was the fuzzy little insulation lining in the door when you close the door, like on this side right here, the little inner side. I thought that was a fun and unique idea. And then this little waxy flag, this wax paper flag. I was like, oh, like a fuzzy thing. And then when I was the waxy flag, I was doing movement like that. Um, and then we brought those, we explored that for quite a bit of time. And then we brought those into the classroom and used our textures in the room, adding sound and then working on expanding it and balancing the space. So we were trying to stay equidistant, so away from each other and balancing the space. Um, then we also added other games like following and um, and other like little things we've done. And then we picked a single person's texture and then we all followed that as a group, but not like exactly mimicking what they were doing, but like exploring our own variation of it kind of a thing, but in the same inspiration. Um, and then other people could interrupt and bring their own, and then we would all follow that one. And so it was mostly instigated by sound because there'd be like, oh, that's one, and then someone go, I don't know, some other sound, just, and once you heard that other sound, you go like, and then it would follow. Um, yeah. Then we worked together to create kind of a scene that was cohesive with that, and we really leaned into using this table and these blocks and this other space we had, um, building up into a story, right? And as we were working on this table and had these sounds together, we had not competing, but two, half the group was working on was following one sound and movement, and then the other half was doing the other. It was just mixed in. And then we started adding words to it. It's like, what does this make you think of? And I thought a lot about like cleaning the table and swabbing decks, and I was thinking pirates, but then it turned out we kind of discovered it as a bar, as an ensemble. And then someone's like, oh, time to go, last call, new place, all these things. And then we kind of ended in a tableau and an image that kind of told the story. And then, yeah, then we talked about it and we debriefed for a bit, which was some good discussion and analysis. I feel like it went on a little bit. And I was tired because I got up at 3:50 in the morning because of jet lag and stuff. And the night before, I had gone to bed at like 8:30. Not tonight. Um, Yeah, yesterday was like the longest day. I woke up at like 3:50. I didn't go to bed till like almost midnight, which is why I'm so tired today. So, um, then we all went to one side of the classroom, the studio, the space, and we went threes at a time. One person was on each end and someone in the middle, and you start in a tabletop and you kind of isolate the movement of your body. Um, and your spine, you're kind of just undulating your spine, right? And trying to isolate it without like having to rock too much. But if you were, that's fine too. But it's really focusing on moving your spine. And then have that from the tabletop work you down to the floor and then roll, right? But really leading out from your spine. And so your arms and your legs can follow and everything, but it's really following the spine. Um, And then after you got all the way to the end of the studio, you would walk around back and then you'd go again facing the other direction. So if I'm tabletopping this way and then rolling that way, I would then tabletop this way and roll that way. Um, yeah, and then we paired up and one of us put our hand on the other person's back and they kind of led us through the space. So the person whose back was being touched was the leader. It was kind of moving their spine and following the space, and the other would just follow their actions. And then they would get into a table, and then the person following would put their weight on them and kind of find this how much stability and space and weight they could put. And then they did that three times, and then you switched. And that was basically the class. And it was fun. It was good. Had some good movement to it. And that was the day we did it. Afterwards, there was a poetry night, and some of the D's did the poetry night. There were at least three. Yeah, and one of the D's won the whole thing, won the originals. So that's sick. It was like 400 pounds too. So that's really rad. Um, anyway, I'm gonna try to get back into this because I missed the week and I'm so tired. But I'm gonna get back into um posting daily for my three consecutive listeners. But hey, love you guys. Until next time. Yee.